Hello and welcome to MindLift, your destination to optimize your peak health performance. Inspired by real-life stories and backed by science. Brought to you by the Brain and Performance Center, a DP World company, filmed here in the vibrant city of Dubai. Today, we've got a very interesting podcast. And actually, this was something that I personally drove with our marketing team because I sat with our guest, I think for probably about 10 minutes, and I was captivated. I found his story interesting. I found it inspiring. I found some of the challenges that he spoke about really resonated with myself personally, but I could actually see a lot of that through day-to-day struggles that we all go through. And it was nice from my point of view to be able to beg him for a little bit of his time so that we can talk through this and present it to you guys. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce our guest for today's podcast, Mr. Adil Ditta. Thank you, Adil, for coming and joining us.
Thank you very much, Doctor. It's a pleasure to be here, and thank you for allowing me to have a chat with you today.
And thank you for sharing your story with everyone, because I know this is, I don't think something that you've done in the past, actually.
I haven't. I've been approached over many, many years and by many organisations, but it's just not felt right and not the right time. And it feels right now. It feels right now, so it's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you. And it's our privilege and our honour. So a lot of people want to know a little bit about your story. Let's go back to the start.
Wow.
I know, sorry, it's a long time ago, but let's go back to the start, showing your age.
I'm showing my age here now. Back to the start, I'll go back as my father. My mum and dad came to England from Pakistan in the early 1960s. I think my dad came, about 13, 14, very young. No education. In Middlesbrough or around the Teesside area, predominantly steelworks. My father worked in steelworks industry from a very young age, and then later in life became a taxi driver. So I remember my early days. It was very humble, very basic. I think there's 2-3 families, cousins living together, 12, 14 of us. Just happy days. It was a very humble area. It was very simple, very basic. However, we actually, when I look back, we lived a very, very humble life, but a happy life. I show my age again now, very different to what times are like today. We had no money. We used to share everything, our food. It was very basic, but we all loved each other, supported each other. And I remember I was a very happy child.
Beauty and simplicity.
Yes.
Yeah. Now, the first interaction that we had, what I found interesting was that you were the first professional cricketer from an ethnic minority, essentially, to break through the cricket infrastructure within the UK, correct?
I was the first non-white person to ever sign for Yorkshire Cricket Academy. I think it was 1989. I fell in love with cricket at a very young age. My father used to play with his friends on a weekend, and it's just something I enjoyed. It was never forced upon me. It was never directed at me. It was just something I actually genuinely enjoyed. I don't know why. There's no particular reason, but I did, and it became an obsession to me at a very young age. I remember telling everybody that I want to be a professional cricketer, and they were like, what's he talking about? He's come from this background. And I know disrespect to cricket. In them days, it was an elite sport. It was, in basic English, you had to have money. And we never had it. It's as simple as that. And but I was very, very lucky. And went through the age groups, joined Middlesbrough Cricket Club at the young age of, I think, 9. My father took me there. And I loved it. It was a challenging time because, again, even at the cricket club, I was probably the only Asian to be at the cricket club at a young age, and I was different. Fact of life. And I went through all the age processes from under 11s to 13s, 15s, county cricket, Cleveland, Middlesbrough, then went on to Yorkshire, and then eventually got signed by Yorkshire Cricket Academy in 1989. And I always remember my father worked extremely hard for the family. He's worked as a taxi driver, getting home 3, 4 in the morning and waking up at 7, 8, taking me to my club cricket matches, which start at 9 o'clock on a Sunday. And he sacrificed all his life for his children and for his family, which is something that stuck by me, which is drilled into me, something that I'm very close to my children. It stuck out more so now, looking back how much he sacrificed to give his kids a better life. And at the time, hand on heart, we probably didn't appreciate it as much as we should have done. Me, definitely not. Took it for granted. But as you get older and have your own children, you then realise, wow, how much sacrifice our parents did, or my parents did for me. So that was the beginning of the journey. And then I also remember very early days, in the late 80s, early 90s, racism was rife around the world, I suppose, not just in cricket, everywhere. And my father was like a very simple guy, a very humble guy. And he said, you just got to be better than everyone else. Son. If you want an opportunity, you got to be twice as better as anyone else. And that stuck with me throughout my life, not just in sport, in business. And a lot of people don't know that, even today, which we'll discuss later. I'm a big believer that you're never going to outwork me. You might be more talented than me, you might be better than me. However, your work rate will not be more than mine. And consistent, which we'll discuss later. So he drilled it into me at a very young age, naturally, that we had to be very consistent at what we do, and you got to be better. So that was my early ages of living in Middlesbrough, with my father's background, cricket early days, at the Yorkshire Cricket Academy, playing Yorkshire second 11, went through the England junior ranks, under 15s, under 17s, under 19s. I'm one of the young gentlemen that actually went through the full system. And in them days, even at other counties, there was probably maybe 3, 4 Asians in the whole of the country. So if you look at the amount of people in junior systems actually playing cricket, what Asian percentage there was, there's probably 15%, but actually how many went on is very, very low. There's got to be a reason for that. At them days, there was only, from the top of my head, there's 3, 4 of us only in the whole of the country that were playing.
And the reality is, to get to that level, you mentioned you got to work harder. You mentioned a few key words: obsession. It was more than an obsession. It was pretty much you lived it, you breathed it. Everything was focused around it. And it wasn't, at that point, what it feels like, it wasn't an individual effort. You putting everything you could have on the line, you still needed support, you needed help, you needed a system. And I think that's obviously what's motivated you and driven you to get to where you got to before. But it's interesting that you've carried those principles now in life, right?
Family is a key part to me. Your family is your backbone, your foundation. Unfortunately, in life, everyone doesn't have the same family, but I was very privileged, very honoured that I had the love and support of my parents, my brothers, my sisters, that gave me the foundation. And when I played cricket in the early days, I didn't just do it for myself. I had a responsibility to my family. Hence where my work rate was probably more or harder than most people. And the same in my business now, that I wasn't just working for myself. I'm working for my children, my family. I have a responsibility. And I suppose from a young age, I've had that in me. And without realizing, only now that actually you sit back and you reflect on your behavior, actions, and why you do things, what made you do things, you actually realize, actually, I've had this for 40 years. This hasn't just come today. And I'm not one of these people that reflect too much on what I've achieved or what I've done. I always look forward. I always enjoy each day, and make the best of that day and look forward to tomorrow. Whatever I did yesterday, history, I can't change it. So I don't really dwell on it too much.
Interesting you say that, because yesterday's whatever happened is history. However, there's always this concept of learning from the difficulties and the challenges you get. Now, you're at a situation, let's say in the 90s, late 90s, you've progressed through the system, you've achieved a very high level. But things have changed thereafter, because I understand that at that point you had quite a significant injury, and that in itself brought a challenge, brought a difficulty, and something that you had to obviously learn. Tell me a little bit about the challenges that you had from that point. What was the circumstances surrounding the injury and how those years were after?
It was in the late 90s. It was an unbelievable difficult time. Probably my darkest days. When I look back at it, I was depressed, mental health issues, and mental health only come in now. But them days, it was tackled in a different way, shall we say.
Very macho kind of.
Yes, you're a man, get on with it, which is completely wrong. Anyway, when I got injured and couldn't recover, I turned to God. I did. I was praying and reading Quran every day, and I was hiding. I was alone, and I didn't know which way to turn. So I turned to God. And the process was difficult, very, very difficult. And as I went through the several months after the cricket injury, I didn't know what to do, didn't know which direction to turn to. I left school at 16 with no qualifications, a couple of GCSEs, didn't go to college, no work experience. All I'd done was play cricket from 8 until 20 and did nothing else. So my whole dream, everything in my life was cricket. I didn't think of plan B, plan C. And my family was, like I said, not educated. And we all just believed that cricket was going to be the be all and that's it. But in life, you learn that I don't use the word for fail a lot. I use it learning. We all make mistakes, or we'll have bad days where people will call it fail, but I don't, as long as you learn from it. And if you learn, you'll progress and you'll do better later in life. So that time was difficult. I remember my mum, of all people, coming to me and sitting down with me eventually and saying you should be blessed, you're healthy, you're young, you got all your life ahead of you. So what if you haven't done cricket, move on? And it was like, it may be a validation I needed from my mother, because I felt as though I let them down. And like I said at the beginning, I played cricket not just for myself, but my family. And I was the eldest in the family, so I had the responsibility, as Asians do, to set an example, lead the way, whether it's right or wrong. That's just our culture. And I then got rid of my ego, because in cricket terms, you had sponsorship, you had all your cricket equipment, you had everything done for you. You didn't do nothing yourself. I then went and got a job at Boots. Boots is, in England, a pharmacy, stacking shelves on £3.59 an hour, Christmas temp. And
So what's that in dirhams? Literally, probably about
3, 6, 9, 12, 15 dirham.
Wow.
Yeah, and probably even less when I was working there. So I've been the full scale. So I've been right at the bottom where you're working at that level to the right to the top, thankfully. And it was an unbelievable, valuable lesson, because my ego was gone. It was just me. I wasn't bothered anymore. It was about the journey, about me, rather than trying to validate my life to the people, how I should portray myself, how I should be seen. So I got a job. I went, and as you can imagine, working in Boots, your family members, your friends see you stacking shelves, thinking, well, you were on TV last week playing cricket. What are you doing here now? It's, believe you me, it was a challenging time. But alhamdulillah, I blessed it. I took it very well, because mentally I was ready for my fight. I'd had my dark days, and nothing's going to stop me now. That was my day one of my journey, which started then, and it's still continuing now. But that was day one. I finished Boots over Christmas temp, and got a job in a mobile phone shop in Hartlepool. And me and my best friend Jazz, We worked there together. And that's when my next stage of my business life started.
So interesting. So you've gone up from a point where everything looked bright lights. You looked like you were generally progressing quite well. You'd outperformed everyone, combination of talent and hard work. And you'd got to a point where, yes, this was going, you suddenly hit a massive, massive obstacle. You had to almost reset. So in life, there's a lot of kind of what we call, I would say, psychological tools that we use unknowingly. And you've obviously mentioned things like going through this grief reaction, kind of scaling everything back, essentially stripping everything down and trying to rebuild yourself up. But something must have changed to the point where you realized, actually, I want to get back. You had your motivation, you had your drive. What was it then that changed? What was it then that pushed you along? And what did you do to get to that next level?
It was fear of failure. I'd failed at cricket, in my opinion, because I wanted to go to the top. It wasn't to be, and I had to accept that. And in life, you realize we all have goals and aspirations, but the reality is we're gonna not get there 8 out of 10 times, and that's fine. That's fine. That's normal. And once you accept that and learn from that, when you go next time, you'll get better, and you will get there. And I had to accept, as an individual, that cricket was not going to be my career, and that's fine. And once you mentally accept that and understand, okay, fine, you cry, you sulk, whatever you need to do. However, only you, and I repeat this, only you can actually turn the corner. You could have guidance, you'll have help from family, friends, whatever it may be, but you've got something inside your heart, something inside yourself to do it. Because if you don't want to change, you won't change. You could cheat the system, you'll have advisors, you'll have help, but you as an individual have to want to do it. And if you want to do it, you'll have plenty of people to help you. But you've got to help yourself first. And that's my number one. I say to everyone, you've got to do it. And do you really want to do it? Or are you just talking? Words are cheap. Show me. And that's what I do. I'm like, and when I go talk about consistency, when I talk about fear of failure, it's all about you. What you want to do. How do you want to achieve it? Show me. Go and do it. And if you 100% believe, you'll do it. And if you don't, no problems. You've learned from it. You'll do it next time. You don't give in. There's no such word as giving in life. The only day you give in when you can't breathe. Until then, you've got beautiful life. You breathe in. Alhamdulillah, you're blessed. Thank God for what we've got at every level. And work hard and help and support and be the best version you can. And I've done that, like I said, the question, from the age of 8 without realizing. Only now that I'm, alhamdulillah, blessed in a privileged position that I reflect on my childhood and my family life and how much my parents did for me and how I am with my children now. Only now I'm realizing all these qualities. I didn't really sit back and digest it or understand it.
So what you're saying reminds me of a couple of cliched but phrases that I think probably hit the nail on the head. The beauty is within the struggle, right? What we go through essentially is shaping us, and everyone is always so keen and so eager to get to the end point.
Correct.
But the reality is, what is the end point in life? It's death. Why are we so eager to just get to that end achievement rather than going through the process, learning, developing, and actually using those steps? And that's no different to anything in life. And I think we apply those principles when it comes to psychology, when it comes to medicine, generally speaking, that part of these things that your body's learning about is what's building you. And then the other thing is tough times. Tough times. There's this cliched phrase about tough times and tough people and tough times making easy people. And I feel like the generation that we're living within now, I'm 40, you're 50, and we've probably seen changes whereby the start of your journey was the tough moment, and that's made you into a tougher person. But now what we're seeing is that the tough moments that you've been through have created these easy times, and we're living within a generation now where unfortunately things are becoming very easy, and you alluded to that earlier.
For me, process is a big part of life in everything. I'm a firm believer that whatever you want to achieve, if you go through the processes, 8 out of 10 times you'll be successful. It's just a fact of life. But if you try to skip the process and go right to the top, you've got no foundation, you're going to keep falling. So you have to be patient. You have to be consistent. And like I said, the things we spoke about many times, I'm a big man on consistency. I'm a big man on that you've got to go through the processes every single day. It's a life-changing, and we'll talk about my journey on longevity a little bit later on. It's a consistency. It's a belief. You've got to be committed. There's no cutting corners. There's no cutting corners for anyone, anywhere. Anyone that's successful, believe you me, and success is measured in many different ways. And there's no right and wrong way. But for me, if you are successful in the way that you see your success, you would have gone through hardship. You would have gone through the processes. You would have got a solid foundation, which I speak to my children about every day. About commitment, about your sacrifices, your belief. And when you believe, it's 100%. And you got to have evidence, not just say, well, I believe I'm going to be a doctor or a psychologist or a sportsman or whatever it may be. Your belief has to be backed up. You have to have evidence. What have you done? How have you done it? Have you done it over a long period of time? Or have you just done it over, we talk about weight loss. Have you done it over 2 weeks and think, oh, well, I've been good for 2 weeks. I'm not losing weight. Life doesn't work that way. Yeah, and a lot of people I find don't have the patience and don't really want to do it. They actually say they want to do it, but actually saying it and doing it is two different things.
Interesting. Now, I want to talk a little bit, if possible, about how life has been since, because we got to the point in your story, in your journey, you'd worked, like you said, you'd gone back to the bottom. Speaking frankly, you'd gone back to the bottom. And then at this stage, you mentioned working in a phone shop, and then opportunity came, and how you used that to get to where you, because that for me felt like when we were talking, sorry to cut you off, what was the springboard for this next step, correct?
When I look back, yes. But again, at the time, I didn't realize. To me, it was normal because of my childhood. All relates back to my childhood. So I remember having an opportunity. I remember I've just got married at the time, and we had £5,000 saved up. That's it. That's all we had. And it was an opportunity to buy these phones and sell them into Hong Kong. And it was a large profit. It was doubling my money, basically. However, the guy in Hong Kong, Jackie, I never met. I spoke to him through Alibaba.com website. I spoke to him twice. And I went home and I said to the wife, Noreen, I said, Noreen, I'm going to buy these phones and come to Hong Kong and make £10,000. And Noreen, being Noreen, was like, well, what about if you lose it? And my reply was, I'll make it back. So how? I went, I don't know, but I will make it back. And when I look back, that's just me being me, how positive I am and how committed I am, that I was willing to go all in with everything we had saved. We had nothing. Is that stupidity? Is that bravery? For me, it's full committed into what I believe in. And when you fully believe in something, you have to, I talked about it earlier, back it up with evidence. Do it. I did it. And I didn't realize I was doing it. I went, I bought the £5,000 of stock. Me and my dad went to Manchester Airport in his taxi. And them days, my dad would give me a little clip now and then. He was like, what are you doing, son? And this is what I'm doing. And he's like, really? He's going to take your money and the usual. Anyway, I won't go into the details or the nitty gritty because it'll take too long, but I went to the airport, got an airway bill that stock with the airline now. And Jackie said, once you get an airway bill, send it to me and I'll pay you. Them days, there was no emails, it was a fax machine. So I got an airway bill, faxed it to Jackie. He said, right, I'll pay you tomorrow. Thank you, Jackie. On the drive home, I was stressed, as you can imagine. First time in my life, I was getting cold sores in my nose, my lips, and got home to a negative environment. And I was like high as a kite, and they were like, you're not going to get paid. And didn't sleep all night, did not sleep. We stayed awake. And it wasn't even a business account, it was my personal account. It was called Abbey National them days. I think it's Santander now. So I rang online banking, 8 o'clock, balance, nothing. That was it. Dad started, and Noreen started. I went, oh God, here we go. Anyway, 2 minutes later, rang back, £10,150. I was like, wow. I was like, my house is worth £30,000. My salary was, I think I was on 12,000. I believe Noreen was on about 14,000. Very, very simple, basic, humble beginnings. And I can't express how it was. Anyway, so that same day, you know what I did? I went back to the shop and I bought £10,000 of stock. And you can imagine what's going on there now. You've made 5,000, my salary's 12. I went, no. I rang Jackie, yeah, send it to me. Same thing, again, sent him. And got paid again the next day. And that was it. And the first week I made nearly £60,000. So from a salary of £12,000, my house being 30,000, Noreen only being on 14 salary, our life had changed. And when I look back at it, I'm thinking that showed me, or tells me now, that from the young age I had that commitment. If I believed in something, I did it all, and I showed evidence by doing it. Most people would have dabbled with £1,000, £2,000, or whatever it may be, but I was like, nah, I'm going to go all in. And my answer was, if I lose it, I'll make it back. It wasn't like a negative reply back that, oh, well, I don't know. I said, no, I'm going to make it back.
So you're literally willing to risk it all.
Correct. And again, I'll go back a lot to my childhood, because the foundation was set with my father, about my upbringing, about working hard, being better than everyone else, outworking everyone. And to this day, I'm 6 o'clock, I'm up, 6:30, I'm here in the chamber. I'm not home till 7, 8 o'clock. I still outwork people. One of my biggest tools throughout my journey is been, apart from the consistency and the rest of it, is been my work ethic. And as you get older, generally people just see the materialistic things and the things that don't really have a lot of relevance in life. But my journey has been a very, very difficult journey, a very blessed journey. And when I look back and I reflect, I realise only now how much my parents paid an influence on my life. And the way I look at that now, my eldest daughter Jasmine, Reese and Anissa, I'm super proud of them. I love them, their work ethic, their commitment. And that's what we speak about in terms of where do you want to get to, what you're doing about it. And all three of them are phenomenal kids, and they will have a bright future, inshallah, God willing, because they are so consistent, their belief. Same with me. And obviously Noreen's played a massive part in the upbringing of the children, because I've been away a lot of the times, and I go back a lot to family. People see me jet setting and doing this and that, but the foundation is Noreen. Yeah. She's the foundation. Without her, without Noreen looking after my parents and the kids, regardless of what I would do, I wouldn't be able to do it. So she gives me the freedom to do what I do. So she's the main winner, not me. And it goes back to my father. My mother made the house very easy for my father to go out. So it's probably a similar story to a lot of us, how we believe life is done.
Amazing. No, and genuinely, it's amazing, because a lot of what you're saying resonates very well with me, because we come from similar backgrounds. So I can actually almost, when you're telling the story, it feels like I've been there as well to a degree. And what's abundantly clear is that those same principles that you've got, you're not making it easy for your kids.
No.
And I personally agree with. I think there's too many, and probably I'm guilty of it myself at times. We try to make things easier for our kids because we have this mindset that I want to give them everything that I never had. And actually what you realize is it's important they struggle. It's important they suffer. And I think a lot of people that I speak to over here, whether it's athletes, whether it's aspiring or budding athletes, they're talking about going through struggles, how they've generally the populations now and the younger generations aren't going through these difficulties. And what you're creating ultimately is a generation whereby people are, call it soft if you want, and you're going to see the potential consequences of that
100%.
in the next few years almost.
Yep. I go on to Hamzah Sheeraz. I want to touch on a little bit. As you're aware, I look after Hamzah now. And his qualities are similar to mine. It's like we are the right dance partners. And I met Hamzah's father 4 years ago. And Hamzah's father was also a cricketer at Gloucestershire. And we played against each other. And he approached me to say, oh, look, would I help Hamzah? And I said, look, I'm enjoying my life in Dubai. I'm beautiful. I don't really want to get back in the limelight. I don't want to sort of get involved. I said, but I'll come and watch your son. For the next sort of 2 years, I went to watch Hamzah just as a friend. Hamzah was coming to Dubai. I used to go out for dinner with him. And I started speaking to him. And when I got to know him as a person, I thought, this guy is me. He was hungry. He had desire. He was consistent. He was passionate. He was going to be a success. 100%. 100%. And zero doubts. And again, when I spoke to Hamzah, I could relate to my journey and his journey. He suffered a lot. He had hardship. He was on his own. Same traits as with me. But he had no guidance, no help, no support. I had none of that. I had zero. But I then made a decision. I sat with Hamzah that the things that I want from you, Hamzah, is what you've got. You're unique. I want your commitment. I want your sacrifice. This is a long-term journey. We've got a journey up for the next 6 years. We outwork everyone. Just the things that I've discussed and exactly what he does. I then introduced Hamzah to a few of my friends. Terence Lazard was a mentor of mine, and a few other friends of mine. I said, have a chat with Hamzah, see what you think. And everyone came back to me and said, yeah, this kid's special. And so I identified Hamzah as a future world champion in boxing many years ago. He's at the top of the bill now. Inshallah, God willing, this year, early next year, he will become world champion. And then I started working with Hamzah.
Amazing.
And then my next journey started with Hamzah and my longevity and how come I end up here.
Excellent. So we're lucky enough, actually, we're going to have Hamzah with us next week, and it's going to be interesting because we're going to learn a lot about him and some of his traits. We're also going to learn about the principles he's applying in terms of his own health. I want to talk about, obviously, what you've touched on, coaching and mentorship. And it feels like this is an extension almost of your family. The environment that you've had, what you've learned, all this experience that you've got, you're now applying those principles to someone like you've mentioned, like Hamzah. Tell me in terms of what's the difference now, because you talk about your mentoring when you were the mentee, but now you've actually completely flipped 180, and now you're the one who's basically people are looking to for advice. When did you adopt this role? When did you take this role on?
My daughter Jasmine, actually, she always says to me that, Dad, you've got so much to give. And she was right. And it's something that I didn't do. I didn't feel I had. I thought I was normal. I have never ever, and still don't think. However, after speaking to Hamzah, I made a conscious decision to give something back to life. I wanted to play a small journey in helping Hamzah become successful, making him and his family financially secure. And that's what I decided to do. I decided to give something back. And when I started the journey with him, it's unbelievable how rewarding it is. From a selfish point of view, I've changed my life in the back of him. As much as it was me giving to him and helping him change his strategy, change his life, helping him get where he wants, the 360 degrees done is changed my life. Hence why I say I've got an unbelievable dance partner. So for me now in life, it's more rewarding for me if I could help someone, if I could advise someone. I get immense satisfaction of investing in the youth now, making them grow, helping them be successful. And that's my sort of next few year journey, as much as I can, is to help support, guide young individuals, elite sports people, to fulfill to their dreams, to fulfill what they want to achieve in life, whatever it may be, whether it's in business, whether it's in sport. I want to, and again, I use the word selfish. I am selfish. It gives me immense satisfaction of guiding, helping, supporting. Say, well, I played a small part in someone's journey becoming successful in whatever what their success is for them.
And there's a lot of that driven by the fact that when you were going through this process, the support system that you had was your family. and that was your motivation. That was it. But you were a very special example. And I say this in a very flattering way. What I mean by that is you spoke about the hundreds and hundreds going through a system, and you are less than 1%. You represented that. Yeah. Is it now trying to almost give back to that system to make sure that it's not longer it's
Correct.
percent? We're talking about 10s and 20%.
Yes.
We're talking about multiple factors now to be able to say, I've been through this process, I've been through this journey, I know what it takes, I've seen what it takes to fail. Correct. And equally what it takes to succeed. And I want to just be able to give that little bit back. And you mentioned selfishness, but equally it's, like say, the person that you are, learning from those mistakes and being able to create, we use this word lightly, but legacy to a degree.
I agree 100%. It's like, it gives me immense satisfaction of playing a small part in an individual journey of how I could help people now. I've been at the bottom. You've heard my story. I've been literally no money to go to cricket. I've had it all. Normal state school, couldn't afford clothes, from getting to telecoms, progressing. So I'm probably one of the few people that could relate to a lot of people. I've not come from a seriously successful family that's had money and generation wealth and et cetera, et cetera. So I've had to work. So I could relate to most people's story, and they could relate to mine, more importantly, because I've been there. And the way I sort of like to support, help is listening to what they want, and literally in a conversation with most of these people, it's my input is minute but straight to the point. So you listen and you listen. I never tell anyone what to do. I never will. It's your journey, it's your life, it's your career. However, if you ask me my opinion, then be prepared to listen to what I'm going to say, because you might not like my answer. And I'll soon find out whether the individual is actually really just want it. And if you really want it, then you got my support. And I'll just guide them in a certain way, and then they're off. And that's what I enjoy doing now.
Amazing. What's life like at the moment now? Because we spoke about you changing and going into this. The last time you mentioned, you spoke about from a professional point of view, was you'd built up this system process whereby you'd found a way from your hard work, from your commitment, from your willing to take that risk to get successful. And it's 2025, you're in Dubai, mashallah, very successful. What's it been like from that point to where you are now?
Wow.
What's it taken to get to that point? And how do you keep going?
Alhamdulillah, I'm very blessed. I have mum's prayers. I've always been self-motivated. Like I said to you, from the very early age, I've had a fear of failure that's driven me every single day to be consistent, which I think is a key part in anyone's journey. You've got to be consistent, whether it's weight loss journey, whether it's your mental health issues, whether it's work. I think the consistency it's probably number one. And you got to have the belief which goes with that, and you've got to back the belief up, like I told you, with the telecoms, with the consistency. They're all sort of linked in together. And now, alhamdulillah, I live a blessed, beautiful life. About 2 years ago, 18 months ago, I was about 118 kilos. Wow. Yep. I was just eating out all the time, going out, a little bit lost, to be honest. Just enjoying Dubai life, playing my golf. A lot of friends were going out. And then when Hamzah came into my life 2 years ago, I looked at his, you always learn. I love to learn. Every day we learn. I'll never stop asking questions. I love to learn. And I was fortunate enough to get involved with Hamzah in his camps. And I was like, wow, this is what I was doing in my cricket days. Look what happened to me now. And for me to sort of lead Hamzah's team, I had to set an example. If you're going to lead by example, not by words. And I go back to a lot about, in reality world, I say, don't talk show. A lot of people talk a good game, but... So I said, okay. So that was it. So I made a decision that my weight loss is going to start. And that was it. And I wasn't going to stop. Alhamdulillah, 2 years later, it's just progressed to eventually being the Brain Performance Center, which is the ultimate in longevity and brain and the rest that we'll talk about later. And I started my journey. And that was it. Gym, diet, and then just progressed to saunas and ice pools and recovery and blood testing and the nutrients I had to take. It just every sort of week and every month, things just progressed to where we are now, to the ultimate place. And that was part of my journey, was to show the team that if I'm going to lead the team, look at me. If I could do it at my age, you could do it. And I don't need to talk about it. You stay quiet. You just do it. And they all say, wow, look at him now. He's lost weight. But again, I go back to the fundamentals of being successful in life is your consistency, your belief and your commitment. They'll always come back to your core values. They really will do, no matter where you go in life. So I had to set an example. I had to lead the way. So when you lead the way, either you show them with your actions or you talk. But me personally, I believe it's more beneficial to do it with the actions rather than telling people what to do, because I don't believe, me personally, telling people it works. I rather lead by example and let people follow me. And the ones that will follow me, the ones that you'll work with, the ones that don't, they don't want it enough. And you say, thank you very much, no problems.
It's almost the opposite of that old adage where they say, in medicine a lot of times we say, do as I say, not as I do. But you're the opposite. You're do as I do, not as I say. You
Correct.
want to lead that example, set that. If I can do it, given what I've been through, given where I'm at, somebody with what you've got should very easily achieve
Correct.
it. And we talk about consistency, habits. These are habits which initially when you're starting, it must have been difficult, but now they've become
Routine.
a core
It's
part
normal.
of your life. It's routine,
It's
right?
routine.
And we talk about this space at the moment, which you've touched on: wellness, mindfulness, longevity, health generally. And it's getting a lot of press at the moment. It's what we call a hot topic at the moment. For me personally, when people ask me about what is longevity, I think it's working in that space between health span and lifespan. Lifespan being how long you live for, health span, how long you live healthy for at the peak level of your performance. And it seems like you are consistently trying to achieve that. And you've touched on a few of the principles. When you ask me what it breaks down to how much you're exercising. You have a great routine in place. We know that. We've spoken about that. Your diet, you've built in certain things, and you were aware what you were doing wrong.
Correct.
You identified it and corrected it. We'll talk about the psychological element, and from there, you're very, very sharp. We know that what you've been through has obviously built you up. And then we talk about the cognitive element, and the reason you're with us is trying to do everything you can and going over and above.
Yes. Exactly what it is. And I just quickly touch on how I ended up here. I was at a golf tournament, and I was with Claire Fleetwood and Tommy Fleetwood, and Michael was there. Michael was with Claire, and Claire introduced me to Michael. And I started chatting to Michael. We were just walking around the golf, socially chatting, because he likes golf, I like golf. And he said to me about the Brain Performance Centre here. And then I went, yeah. I said, I'd love to have a look. So I came to look at the facility. I was blown away. And I've been in the chamber, I think, 20 odd sessions now. Facilities here are unbelievable. It's something I thought I would never do. We look after our bodies, like I said, in diet, nutrition. But how many people actually look at our brain, which is the main function of our body? How many people actually ever get our brains kind of look at how our brain's working, how much oxygen is going to our head? We look at our physically, let's get in shape. We look at our diet. But how many times actually do we test our bloods or look at how our brains function? And for me, longevity is living the healthiest I can for as long as I can. And that's why I'm committed to what I'm doing here at the centre and what I do in my day-to-day life as a human being now.
It's the same principles that you're basically applying.
Correct.
Excellent. So, last major question that I want to ask. Success.
Oof.
Hard question, because everyone defines success in a different way. And I'm also sure that what your definition of success was when you were young, to when you were in your cricketing career, to when you were starting up a business, to family, it always is evolving and changing.
Correct.
At this stage in life, given what you've been through, given what you've done, how do you define success? And how did it change for you?
Okay. Success for me today is being able to wake up every day healthy and do what I want to do when I want to do it. Have my own time. Success to me when I started my career was financial, to make money, to make my family secure. So over the years, it does change drastically. And for me, success right now is time. Is time. Is being able to sit here without worrying about anything else, to get up in the morning, feel healthy, to feel fit, to feel mentally right, to be able to do whatever I want to do. And do that for as long as I can until eventually, obviously, we pass away. Where when I was younger, or even probably 10 years ago, 20 years ago, my success was measured on my wealth. When I started my journey, it was, I want a car, I want a house, I want jewelry. Where now, no, I want to wake up healthy. I want to wake up with peace, tranquility. I walk 2-3 hours a day. I love my life. Alhamdulillah, I'm so blessed. So for me, it's gone 360 to where I was so hungry to make money and materialistic things to where now I just want time.
And the funny thing is, when I ask how it changed, what you have right now and what you're aspiring for, you probably took for granted when you were younger. You had what your perception was. You had time.
Correct.
You had family. Yeah. We take these things for granted because you have them in abundance. However, as you grow older, what you have now was what you were probably aspiring towards, and what you're lacking at the moment, or what your perception of what you're lacking at the moment, you had in abundance at a young age.
Correct.
It's interesting how life changes.
Correct. And I'm truly blessed, truly humble. I'm a big man of gratitude and be grateful for what we have. And my whole mindset has changed over the last 30 years.
Okay. Amazing. And before we finish, just a few quick questions that I want to ask. And I like to ask people because I want short, quick answers of what their definitions of this is. What has been, for you, your biggest achievement, given what you've been through?
My children.
Okay.
My children, when people say to me the education they've had, how polite they are, courteous, how hungry they are, humble they are, how successful they want to become, is not just me and my wife Noreen, it's our biggest achievement is our 3 children.
Because it's ultimately a reflection of you.
Correct.
Okay. And on that point, what's been your biggest challenge?
My biggest challenge was to accept that I was never going to have longevity in cricket or be a professional cricketer for a long time or play for England, because my aspirations were always to play for England, always. And hence why at a very early age, it was a shock to the system, to be in a nice way. But even now, 35 years later, I'm still saying that my biggest disappointment has been not being a professional cricketer. So it just goes to show that 35 years later, it's still that same pain that I dealt with. So there's nothing more that could hurt me more or let me down than what happened to me when I was a young kid.
Wow. Even now to this day, huh?
Yes.
Amazing.
Yes.
The last thing that I want to ask you is, to anyone listening, how would you define the best way to overcome adversity? Because you've been through a lot.
Oh, what a question. It's an individual thing, number one. There's no right answer and there's no wrong answer. There's no right way and there's no wrong way. You've got to do what is right for you. And I find a lot of youth and a lot of people, whether in whatever space they're in, they try to validate what they are doing to other people when they don't need to. It's about you and your journey, where you want to go. And you've got to overcome whatever challenges that you feel. You've got to be brave and fearless, and be so driven that you're going to make your own decision. It's your career, it's your life, it's your journey. So therefore, you've got to make the decision. And people that love you, people that care for you will support you and they'll back you whatever you do, whether that is a right or wrong decision. That's fine. We make mistakes in life. That's part of learning. There's nothing wrong with that, as long as we learn from that. So I'm a big believer that encourage, be brave, be passionate, and never give up on your dreams.
And that's a great note to end, I think. Thank you so much. Genuinely, thank you so much, because it's been inspiring. I've heard parts of this story, but to have it all together and to see what you've been through and how you've overcome every challenge, and rather than seeing it as a negative, you've used it as a positive. It's been amazing. And we're thoroughly excited to have Hamzah with us next week, because I'm sure it's a reflection. Like we say, we see kids.
Yes.
He's almost like your child. That's how we feel.
Correct.
Or a younger brother, if you want to even see him. So it'll be great to have a word with him. And we'll be seeing you regularly.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you so much, Adil. Much appreciated.
Thank you.
This was MindLift, your destination to optimize your peak health performance. Inspired by real life stories and backed by science. Brought to you by the Brain and Performance Center, a DP World company, filmed here in the vibrant city of Dubai. Until next time, thank you.